Questions and protests across the country after a second deadly ICE shooting in Minnesota. What Utahns are saying this morning. And a fight over Utah's congressional redistricting maps, how President Trump is now getting involved. And a new film premiering at Sundance Film Festival, putting a spotlight on the Great Salt Lake. What major point the film's director hopes to get across.
Live and streaming, this is KSL News Now.
Good morning, everyone. Thanks so much for being here with us on this Monday morning for KSL News Now. I'm Lori Pritchard. We'll get to those stories in just a bit. Brian Carlson taking a look at our traffic. We've got some ghost crashes. He'll explain more about that coming up.
New term we just popped up with today.
We just made it up. But it really kind of encapsulates what's happening outside. Let's talk about the forecast, though. We've got half of the country getting this massive winter storm. Completely bypassed us, at least here in the valley.
Yeah, and I'm calling it a ghost winter, if you will.
Where did it go? Right.
It never showed up. It's just terrible. So, the East Coast, like Lori said, has just been getting hammered with the ice, the snow, the rain. Hey, we've even had some tornadoes reported over the weekend in the deep south. Here along the Wasatch Front, quiet as can be. Weak little storms are going to be grazing northern Utah this week. Some may try to get in here, and that's Wednesday. Could bring a mountain flurry, but I think the valleys, it's just going to be a little bit of cloud cover. Now, the valley haze will likely return. Today's haze, nowhere to be found. It's going to be a great clean air day. You've got temperatures out there really cold, clear skies, clouds off to the west. We wish they could do something for us, but, they will not. It will be quiet. 24 to start, but there's other portions of the Wasatch that are in the teens right now. I'll show you those in just a few minutes, but by afternoon, everybody topping in the low 40s. So frigid start, Brian, but by afternoon, it's rather warm.
Well, at least we like the warmth. Thank you much there, Matt. All right, so we're talking ghost crashes. What I mean by that is, like, we go in and tell you, hey, look, there's a crash here, there's a crash here. Then we go to show you the camera, it's gone. Where did it go? So that's kind of what we've been running into this morning. So there are a number of crashes out there on the major commute. Let me give you at least two of them and see if they actually show up here for us. So here's the one we've been tracking in Clearfield, off to the right-hand side, blocking the shoulder. It will be a slight slowdown for everyone coming through Clearfield, southbound I-15. And then you've got one where they're hyper-focused in here on northbound I-15, right there at Bangerter Highway. It looks like this one, just as I showed you right there, it just cleared out. There's the ghost. Lori, Tamara.
All right, Brian, thank you. Well, this morning, conflicting messages arising from Minneapolis, Minnesota, after becoming the epicenter of another deadly shooting involving a federal agent. A federal immigration officer is said to have shot and killed a U.S. citizen for the second time this month. His name is Alex Preddy. He's a 37-year-old ICU nurse. The Department of Homeland Security said agents were conducting a targeted operation against an undocumented immigrant who was wanted for a violent assault. It says that's when another individual, Preddy, quote, approached U.S. Border Patrol officers with a 9mm semi-automatic handgun. Now, some say what DHS is claiming happened does not match the extensive video emerging from the scene.
He brought a semi-automatic weapon to a riot, assaulted federal officers, and at some point they saw that weapon.
This man, Alex Preddy, was peacefully assembling. He was lawfully carrying his weapon with him. He was not brandishing it by definition, by any stretch at all.
Records show Preddy was a lawful gun owner. Federal officials claiming an agent shot Preddy in self-defense, but have declined to provide critical details supporting that. And that shooting prompting more protests overnight, with people rallying outside of a hotel in Minneapolis believed to have been housing ICE agents inside. This comes as Minnesota leaders reject the Trump administration's letter to, quote, restore the rule of law. In that letter to Minnesota Governor Tim Walz on Saturday, U.S. Attorney General Pam Bondi asked him to share all of Minnesota's records on Medicaid and food and nutrition programs, repeal sanctuary city policies, and allow the Justice Department access to voter rolls. Minnesota lawmakers criticizing that, calling it deeply disturbing and a form of coercion. Now, Alex Preddy's death has sparked protests across this country, including here in Utah. Hundreds of people, as you can see, taking to the streets. Here they are. This is a view from Chopper 5 of those protesters in downtown. Now, news specialist Tyrese Boone is live for us this morning on more on what those protesters were saying. Good morning, Tyrese.
Good morning, guys. Protesters were saying ever since Alex Pretty's death, many flocked to the streets, including here in Utah, where many have a personal connection to the shooting that happened in Minnesota. Now, demonstrators marched through Salt Lake City's downtown yesterday afternoon, calling for accountability from federal immigration authorities. The march began at the Federal Wallace Building and continued through downtown before ending at the U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Service office. Many carried signs honoring Alex Pretty, who was recently shot and killed by federal agents in Minnesota.
My son lives in Minnesota and 2 blocks from where Alex was murdered. And I'm here to show support for Minnesota.
I hope more people understand that what is happening shouldn't be happening. It's not normal to be killing people in the streets.
Well, you heard it here first, guys. Protesters say the shooting has heightened fears for families and communities, and they're calling for greater oversight and accountability. And some demonstrators also referenced statements made by Utah lawmakers as they continue pushing for change. Guys, we continue to view this protest from the start to finish, and actually it was very peaceful. There was no counter-protest during this time. I'm reporting live from Salt Lake City. Tyrese Boone, KSL 5 News. Back to you guys.
All right, Tyrese, thank you for that update here. And the National Rifle Association now criticizing a Trump appointee for rushing to judgment on Saturday's deadly shooting in Minneapolis. A top federal prosecutor in Los Angeles posting to social media that said if a person approaches law enforcement with a gun, there's a good chance that officer will be justified in shooting that person. The NRA reacted to that prosecutor's comments, calling them dangerous and wrong. The spokesperson said prosecutors should not demonize law-abiding citizens and should wait until a full investigation is complete. Utah Senator John Curtis echoed that sentiment, calling the shooting of Alex Pretty tragic, but declined to weigh in on whether the shooting was justified, saying more needs to be investigated. He says until the facts are fully known, we should lead with empathy, restraint, and respect for the rule of law. On the heels of that shooting in Minneapolis, there was a big announcement about rumors of a new ICE facility right here in Salt Lake. The location that was reportedly being targeted for a detention center will not be sold or leased to the federal government. That's according to local real estate developer, the Ritchie Group. The company owns a warehouse property west of the airport that has been the subject of anti-ICE protests in recent weeks, following its mention in leaked federal documents that allude to a proposed 7,500-bed facility. In a statement, the Ritchie Group said it has no plans to sell or lease the property in question to the federal government and remains committed to investing in a safe, prosperous, and thriving Utah. In response to that announcement, Salt Lake County Mayor Jenny Wilson said that she was deeply relieved that the property will not be turned over to ICE. She says the proposed facility has no place in an urban area, and she strongly supports a more humane approach to immigration enforcement. All right, let's get to Matt Johnson right now on this Monday morning and get a look at our forecast. Hi, Matt.
All right, hello and good morning. It is a cold one, folks. Of course, one of our coldest mornings yet this winter. It took forever to get here, but we're here. 13 degrees in Logan, 22 in Salt Lake City, and many cities along the Wasatch Front stretch into the teens. 8 degrees in Alta and Vernal, St. George, 30 degrees. They were in the 20s just moments ago. So mostly clear skies across the state of Utah. We do have some high clouds out here to the west that we're watching, but they're not going to really do anything for us in the way of rain or snow. We're going to keep it dry today. I've got a 43 dialed up for Salt Lake. So really cold start, but the afternoon quite bearable, if you ask me. 37 in Logan, 33 in Vernal. Remember, you start at 8 degrees this morning, 44 in Cedar City, and 53 in St. George. Coming up in just a few minutes, a 7-day forecast revealing a little more haze, a slight chance for flurries. We'll talk more in details coming up.
All right, will do. Thank you much there, Matt. All right, good. A small traffic alert here for you that is starting to build here this morning. Northbound I-15 in Midvale. There's a crash right here on the left-hand side that's now blocking 2 lanes of traffic. So this just popped up in the last couple of minutes, and it will be causing some big slowdowns here for you if you're coming from the south end of the valley towards downtown. Let me show you just kind of how it looks like on the map. So the crash is roughly here, but you see all those backups right through here, and that's just keep getting longer. And that's only been the last few minutes there, Lori.
All right, Brian, thank you. In other headlines this morning, Salt Lake City police responding overnight to this SWAT situation happening downtown. The calls originally came in around 9:30 of a man breaking a window to enter a home near 1000 West and 1500 South. Police say when they arrived, it led to a standoff that lasted about 4 hours. Police say they arrested that suspect at the scene. No one was hurt. And back here in Utah, police say a man is dead after confronting 2 car burglary suspects in his neighborhood. Those suspects have since been taken into custody, and one has been booked on suspicion of murder. It happened near 4200 South Westlake Drive in Roy. Officers say they found that victim, 58-year-old Kenneth Keller, with a gunshot wound to the chest. He later died at the hospital. Investigators say the primary suspect, identified as 21-year-old Taylor Gardner, was located a couple of blocks away and was arrested. They say a second suspect was taken into custody at his house in a neighboring city and could face charges as well.
These 2 individuals were out committing vehicle burglaries in Roy, walking around checking for unlocked vehicles, taking any property they could at that time. And that's when they were confronted by somebody that, as far as we are aware, was a victim of a vehicle burglary.
According to court documents, the suspect told police during the altercation that he was tackled by the victim and the gun fell out of his pocket. He said he found it and rolled over with his finger on the trigger, causing the shot. Now, during a phone call with his father, Gardner said, quote, "I made a split-second decision and ruined my life." New images and details this morning out of Weber County after a home caught fire. Firefighters say this happened near 65th West and 900 South. 5 different firefighting agencies responded to this. Crews arriving to the scene to see the residents fully involved. Luckily, the homeowner, who was the only one inside, got out unscathed. The Weber Fire District Fire Marshal's office is now investigating how this fire started. We have new developments in the fight over Utah's congressional redistricting maps. President Trump now getting involved. The president took to Truth Social, posting a plea for Utahns to sign a petition to get a repeal of the voter-mandated Proposition 4 on the November ballot. Republican legislators are behind this effort to take the power to draw congressional district maps away from an independent commission and put it back in the hands of lawmakers. Utah voters approved Proposition 4, which gave the commission control over those maps back in 2018. A judge recently upheld the proposition, ruling it to be constitutional. And over 600,000 square feet of the Gateway in downtown Salt Lake City is now up for sale. The outdoor mall first opened back in 2001, but has transformed into a mix of retail, office, and entertainment space over the last decade. According to the property management company JLL, a big chunk is now being sold. It doesn't include everything, though, like the Asher Adams Hotel, which was completed in 2024. An asking price has not been made public. The sellers boast the retail space is over 90% filled, and it's a popular part of Salt Lake City, close to the Delta Center and Temple Square. It is National School Choice Week, and for families who choose different educational routes for their children, here in Utah, it hinges on helping families access scholarship or tax credit for their kids in homeschool, private school, or micro school settings. Families can access up to $9,000 through Utah's Education Tax Credit Program, the Utah Fits All Scholarship.
They're defenders of it, they're advocates, they share their stories with us and their wow moments and what's working and how their children are thriving. This coming school year that students will be applying for will get another $20 million. Probably cover about 5,000 new kids.
It is the second year of this program, and legislators will be making small adjustments to the code this session. You can find more on school choice in Utah on our website, ksltv.com. All right, let's get back to Matt Johnson. We had this monster winter storm that hit about half of the country, and we hardly saw a thing. At least in the valley, we didn't see anything.
Yeah, absolutely nothing. Really, the only thing we've seen is some cold air that's moved in, and it's helped to sweep out the gunk, the inversion. So that's good news. Here's Bonneville Salt Flats. Clear skies, minimal snow noted in the mountains, very dry, hard ground, which is good news for racers come the summertime. Here's a look at the air quality that we've seen. The last 15 days, we've been stuck under inversion. Some kind of level of concern for air quality, and finally, we've cleared it out this weekend. So a 15-day spread under the influence of quiet, inverted skies. And now, look at this. Clear skies behind me here in the camera. AQIs in the single digits, even at 0 in Orem. So this is great news. It's going to be nice for our lungs to get this fresh, clean air. High pressure, though, does have different plans. It'll likely help to cap off the valleys this week, trapping more inversion and more pollutants. Low pressure in the Pacific looks rather nice on satellite, but he's not going to find his way anywhere near the state of Utah. You'll notice some high clouds move in later today. This is 5 o'clock. Rest of the state's quiet and dry. You move into Tuesday, well, it's more high pressure. We're not looking at any storms. It's completely dry all the way through Wednesday. I do have some flurries possible. This is Wednesday at 3 o'clock, mainly in the mountains. I'm calling it mostly cloudy with a 30% chance to see something fall from the sky. So we'll have to take that as the next 7 days do look quiet, potentially the next 14 days. I know, not what you wanted to hear if you like your summer drinking water. 40 in Hanksville. I've got 37 in Logan, 28 Star Valley, and Spanish Fork topping at 44 degrees. Now, a lot of these Wasatch Front locations will start in the teens this morning. You're going to finish in the 40s, so bearable into the afternoon. 53 to mid-50s, 60 as early as Thursday. St. George, it's borderline spring-like weather as you head into the weekend, mid-60s. Wasatch Front, we're going 43 to 48. That haze starts to build back in tomorrow, and we'll likely deal with it on some kind of varying level through at least Saturday, Sunday, where we're going to be in the 50s, 12 to 13 above the normal. Brian?
It does not feel like late January. Thank you much there, Matt. All right, take a look now at this crash we've been following this morning. And this is the biggest problem we've had among several crashes so far of the day. This is northbound I-15 Midvale, and you've got this crash involving at least 6 cars blocking the 2 left lanes of traffic. And you can see just that clog of cars trying to get through. You just kind of widen out on the map. You see, this isn't even that's not even the crash we're talking about. It doesn't show up here, but you see the backups through here, now going all the way past 94 South. So you've got a long stretch there where you've got a lot of people waiting to get into downtown, and they've got a lot of traffic behind them. Lori?
All right, Brian, thanks. President Trump threatening 100% tariffs on Canadian imports. The president made that threat on Saturday, saying the tariffs would happen in Canada were to make a trade deal with China. Trump's latest threat is a turnaround from comments he made last week at Davos, where he said a deal between Canada and China would be good. The White House has not clarified what would be classified as a deal or when or if any new tariffs would take effect. And in other consumer headlines this morning, gold is at a new all-time high, crossing $5,100 an ounce as higher geopolitical risk reinforces its appeal. Analysts say the spike in prices comes amid worries as the president is upending relations between the United States and its allies in Europe and Canada. It's causing investors to stick with reliable assets like gold. So far this year, the price of gold has jumped 15%. That's building on a record 65% jump in gold prices from last year. New data showing prices at the gas pump rose in the past 2 weeks with a current average of $2.90. The small increase may soon be followed by more hikes, which are expected to be modest. Upbeat economic expectations, which encourage demand, is one of the influences promoting higher prices of oil and petroleum. Despite the uptick, the current average price is 29 cents below what it was a year ago. Meanwhile, the average price for a gallon of gas right here in Utah currently sits at $2.60. That's down 1 cent from Friday and 28 cents cheaper than the national average. For once, we're below the national average. All right, right now, the Summit County organization Save People, Save Wildlife, is warning everyone of the dangers of wildlife vehicle collisions. The group says it's important to think about ways to prevent these collisions as more people move to Summit County and Park City, and as we get ready for a huge influx of people for the 2034 Winter Olympic Games. It adds that the most important ways to keep everyone safe is through smart planning, using solutions like wildlife crossings, fencing, improved signage, and public education. All things that can take time, so it's important for communities, according to them, to plan now. The Sundance Film Festival is underway, and one new film is putting the spotlight on the Great Salt Lake and warns that the lake is nearing a point of no return. The movie is called The Lake, and it follows a small group of Utah scientists and leaders racing to save the Great Salt Lake. The film focuses less on charts and statistics and more on the human decisions, the political pressures, and the cost of inaction. The documentary points to human water use as the primary cause of the lake's decline, while also looking at the main solution, and that is getting more water to the lake. The film's director hopes to get one major point across: there is still time to save it. Utah lawmakers say a shorebird being considered for the endangered species list could actually hinder efforts to save the Great Salt Lake.
Our plan has always been to do every funding, every opportunity we can to make sure that the Great Salt Lake is healthy. If any species of wildlife gets listed, we lose that control.
Federal officials say they're considering if special protection is needed for the Wilson's phalaropes. The migratory bird relies on the Great Salt Lake before it migrates to South America during our winter. According to the nonprofit Center for Biological Diversity, losing the lake could lead to its extinction. And something we desperately need, and Matt, you just said it, is we need the snow because that is part of our snowpack, which gives us water during the summer months.
That's exactly right. You know, and a lot of the northern mountain runoff goes to the Salt Lake Basin, but right now, snowpack's not looking great. I got clear skies overhead and twinkling lights of Salt Lake City. Clean air quality. How about that one? 22 in Salt Lake, 18 in Ogden, 2 in Heber, -7 in Kemmerer, Wyoming. There's some cold air to be had out there this morning. We'll go to 43 this afternoon, mostly clear. Great air quality. Tomorrow, I've got a 48, so it's going to be a little bit warmer, but high pressure moving in will likely cap off the valley. So expect a little haze to start to show up on Tuesday. Wednesday, 46, mostly cloudy with a potential chance to see a flurry come down from our skies. Over to you, Brian.
All right, will do. Thank you much there, Matt. Returning back to this crash we've been watching here this morning that's causing probably your biggest headache on the morning commute. So right here, northbound I-15 in Midvale, you've got at least 6 cars are blocking the left 2 lanes of traffic. It looks like in just the past couple of minutes, they've moved everybody off to the shoulder, and it's kind of starting to clear out this big clog you're seeing right here. It goes, that's not even the crash. You've got 2 others ahead of it. There's the crash, and then you see all these backups going way back there. I mean, here's the funny thing about it. You look at the drive times, now starting to finally reflect what these delays we're seeing. Provo to Salt Lake right there, 50 minutes right now. Tooele, obviously they've had slowdowns throughout the morning. Ogden, that's the only part that's looking good for the morning drive. Lori?
All right, Brian, thanks for keeping us up to date on that. All right, a Cougar fan getting some new wheels after a clutch performance during Saturday night's BYU-Utah rivalry game in Provo. Take a look at what happened. Swoosh. Yeah, that's exactly what happened. And you see here, Ethan Graham of Spanish Fork knocking down his final 3 shots behind the arc to win the keys to a 2025 Volkswagen. He had 30 seconds to do it to make 4. Graham wins a 2-year lease on the car, courtesy of contest sponsor Ken Garf. And we're getting a closer look at the next big ride at Lagoon Amusement Park in Farmington. The park releasing this video. It's called the Nutcracker, a screaming swing ride that will stand over 100 feet tall and go as fast as 70 miles an hour. It's being constructed where the cliffhanger once stood in between the beer garden and Wild Mouse. Its construction comes about 3 years after Lagoon introduced Primordial, a fantasy-themed roller coaster. You could not pay me enough to get on that. No way. Thanks so much for joining us on this segment of KSL News Now on this Monday morning. We leave you with a live look to Salt Lake City as the sun just begins to come up. Have a great day, everyone.